I came out for some wine, but have no appetite. I think I'll bid you adieu for the night. But before I depart, I must ask, be open. Can I have the name and number of your friend? Because it's obvious you borrowed a picture from somebody you know. But I understand if you'd rather just go. A blind date does not mean that I cannot see. And it's pretty obvious you catfished me.
It's no accident that sounds like you're leveling up in a video game. 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds have an online dating profile.
Make them work for it.
45% of people say they're more frustrated with this form of dating than hopeful.
There are so many people you can connect with.
Should I swipe right?
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong. Setting the record straight on dating apps. Everyday people telling everyday stories of the swipe right world with your host, Chaos.
Well, I know he had a good time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, you know it, good night. Whenever you're listening to the show, we are here for you whenever you need us to be here for you. Welcome to the Swipe Wrong Podcast. I am Chaos. I'm the guy that takes you through all the stories and all the situations and all the stuff that goes on in the dating world. We are the #1 podcast amongst people who know how to fold a fitted sheet. I have no chance. I can't do it. Please help me. They get rolled up into a ball most of the time. This week is another good one I'm excited for. I'm excited for all of them, but I think I get more excited. Well, whatever. I think it's really cool that I get to talk to so many people. And in this instance, this person I had never met in my entire life. It was the first conversation that we had. And I'm just so lucky I get to walk away. I'm just going, she's an amazing human being. I don't get to meet as many people in life before I got to do this than I am now. So it's just obviously such a cool thing that we're doing, and hopefully getting some good information out to you guys, good stories, information, maybe life hacks, because who doesn't need a few more life hacks? But I gotta say it, follow, subscribe, tell a friend, let us know how we're doing, 317-426-6616, email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. I never talk about the website, I should do that more, the swipewrongpod.com, all the episodes are there, there's stuff up there, you can say, hey, there's all that up there, and of course, Jay, the man behind the curtain, he is the great and powerful Oz, making everything sound as awesome as it does. Even the episodes that I screw up when I record. So, this one's good. It might be a little bit different. It's more, there's a few more life hacks in this one. Just the journey from, a breakup to just, finding your voice, and even that a little bit more, I think, is more of what we have here. And I'm excited for you guys to hear it. And I will, you know what I'll do. Sit back, relax, put your feet up, grab your popcorn, get it buttered, throw some salt on there, just enjoy. And if you're in traffic, please be safe and don't hit that person next to you, and enjoy plenty of Guppies. And one more word, of course, from the quote-unquote legal department.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions or any entities they represent. This podcast is about dating experiences. It is not to say one dating app is better or worse than another.
I don't know if Jay didn't mention it to me or if I just overlooked it. Were you on podcasts or you do podcasts?
I have a podcast called Zenergy.
Zenergy. Okay. Tell me about it.
So I'm a spoken word artist, as well as I was a high school teacher. So in 2020, I had been building my audience for 2 years, and everybody said, oh, you have a great voice. You should do podcasts. I didn't know what a podcast was. So when we all went into quarantine, I said, okay, well, I'm going to lose my audience if I don't do something. People say I should do a podcast. What would I do it about? And I was doing a lot of journaling at the time because I was kind of we were all adjusting, feeling like we lost everything. I had lost probably at least $5,000 because of all the shows that were coming up. And that was my busiest season coming up. And I was kind of a little bit sad because, that was my side hustle. So I was like, what am I going to focus on? And I decided I could focus on only what I could control, which was myself and developing myself. And so I decided to start going kind of A to Z through self-development topics. And I started journaling at first. And so I was writing down just all these like attitude and awareness, alignment, boundaries and balance and all these different things. And I was writing about it. How can I get better in these areas? What can I read while I'm here? What can I do? Is there any songs that would motivate me?
Sure.
I'm just writing all this stuff down. And then I was like, this could be a podcast. I can
For sure.
every week we could focus on a different topic. I could have guests come on who want to talk about this topic, how it's helping them deal with quarantine, how it's helping them in their business, their personal life, how it's helping them reach their goals. And so in September, I took a podcasting class, and then in September, I launched it. And within about a year, it was top 10% globally.
That is amazing. I mean, from one to another, that's awesome. I haven't taken a class. I went to, there's a place called the Academy of Radio and Television out in Huntington Beach, California. And I went through that, and I was on the radio for a little bit. And then 2013, I started messing around with podcasts because a friend of mine is like, hey, try this because you don't need like to get on a radio station. You can go there. And I used to always call it's the best therapy I've ever had, and the cheapest at that. And then things just kind of morphed. Like it was mainly sports. And then for kind of this idea, I'm single and I was out dating, and every time I went out, I felt like I met a woman who would say that all she attracts are crazy guys, but each one was saying that. And I would say, no, I promise you're not the only one. And then I'm like, gosh, I think everybody's thinking that, everybody's thinking they attract the crazy. And so I like the whole concept of this was, you're not alone. We all get the crazy, and it's not just the crazy stories. It's the stories of the best dates ever and things like that. So like, I feel like so many people feel like they're on an island when it comes to this, but some more so than others. And one more side note, I'm sorry. The other guy who I used to love listening to was Eric Thomas. If you've ever listened to another motivational speaker, you probably know, man, that guy, like if I need to be woken up, that guy, I mean, he is all or nothing. I love that dude. So all that being said, tell me about your history. So how did it start? How did you what prompted you on the apps, or I assume it was the apps? I'm going to shut up and listen now.
Okay. So, coming out of college, I got married. I was married for 6 years, and I was divorced for 2 years, got remarried. I was married for 11 years. And so in 2014, I got divorced. And when I walked out the courthouse, I was like, I am going to do everything differently. Oh. I did what I was told to do. My parents, everybody said, go to school, get a good job, get married, have kids, you'll be happy. Sure. And I did all those things, and I did the best I could at them. And I felt like a failure because I wasn't happy. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that. My goal is not going to be getting married. My goal is going to be, let me just go out and meet people and let me have fun and let me experience. I didn't have the wild 20s. I didn't do the hot girl summer. I was, I was basically a virgin when I married, So, I had very little experience. I consider that I was extremely naive. One of my friends called me green, so I was like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. So now I'm going to do things my way. So and when I got divorced, I basically didn't have any confidence at all. Like I was like, I'm going to take some pictures of myself. I went and got a smartphone because I had a flip phone at the time because I did not want to jump in. Even though it was 2014, I was like, cell phones, I don't want it. Yep. So I got a smartphone. I picked the app, and then I went and took a picture at the mall while I was taking my sons to go prom shopping. Okay. And I went in one of those little kiosks, took like 3 pictures. Oh, sure. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to post a profile. And I'm thinking I'm not going to get any hits. I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of really okay, I need to do this. You know, I said I was going to do this. I'm going to do this. And so I put my picture out there and I got like 100 hits in like 6 days.
Do you remember
And I
what
was
site
like,
you're on by chance?
hmm?
Do you remember? I'm sorry.
What site was I on?
What was it
I
back then? It's
actually,
like Plenty of
okay,
Fish or something?
I was on Ashley Madison.
Oh, okay.
Which
Okay.
I started there because I was still going through my divorce and I told my kids, my family, my husband at the time, I was like, I'm not going to wait till the paperwork is signed to just start putting myself out there. I'm going to start the process now.
Okay.
Because I felt like I had waited. I felt like I wasted so much time. I was 43. I felt old. You know, I just felt like my life was passing me by. Right. So that's how I started. And so as soon as we basically got divorced, I'm walking out the courthouse, like I said, I'm looking at my profile. I'm you know, everything's up and I'm just, okay, it's up and what's going to happen next. And I actually set up 16 meet and greets right back to back. And this was in the summer because my sons had just graduated from high school. I'm like, I did my job. I got them to 18. They had a dad, you know what I'm saying, that helped raise them. So now it's my time. Yeah. And so I set up these 16 meet and greets. And my first goal was really just to find a lover. I mean, really, because I had been in a very unhappy marriage, very sexless marriage. My ex-husband was impotent. Oh, wow. And didn't want to treat it. He was like, I don't want to go to the doctor and talk about this issue. You're gonna have to deal. And I was like, ooh, how selfish. Yeah. But I saw this. Yeah. I'm married to you, you know, so I guess I'll have to deal. Please don't make me do this. But okay, if I can't convince you, I can't force you to do anything. Let me try this. You know, I was bringing home stuff, trying to get him to change, you know, try this pill, try this pump, try this cream, whatever. Nothing worked, you know, for more than a few days or whatever. But anyway, so I gave up on that. We had become like roommates. You know, we talked about the kids and bills and that was it. Wow. We didn't even talk to each other. So I was so lonely. I was so just empty inside. And I was like, okay, I want to start dating because I just want to feel alive. I just want to feel like there's something for me. Right now, all I feel is like a mom. I feel like a mom and a worker. I don't even feel like a woman at all. And so I started going out on dates and I actually wrote a memoir about my 7-year journey because I actually went on 147 dates.
And it's published, right?
Yes. This is the book. Okay. It's called Plenty of Guppies and Other Dating Misadventures.
I love it. All right. Plenty of Guppies and Other Dating Misadventures. Okay. And then yes. Is it an ebook as well?
It's an ebook as well. It's on Kindle. In fact, it's in the category that it's in is it's a poetry prose memoir. So it's prose, you know, regular writing. But then every time you see pens, like you see those pens. Yeah. There's 92 poems in here because I'm a spoken word artist.
Oh, awesome.
So I put it in the poetry category because there's a lot less competition in that category. So it's a lot easier to rank.
Oh, for sure. That makes sense.
And so in the Kindle poetry category, it's actually been on the bestsellers list for about 423 days now.
I don't know how to do applause in Zoom, but I'm just going to clap because that's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
Yeah.
Well, with your voice too, is there an Audible version?
I'm working on the Audible version. There's 8 of the chapters on my podcast. So those 8 are edited and you actually can listen to the first 8 chapters on my podcast. My podcast has like 110 episodes out. So there's like 102 other self-development episodes, but there's like 8 of them that are just this.
Awesome.
And so I actually started off in the book the day I got divorced. And then every time you see a fish, that's actually a guy. Okay. As they say, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And
I was wondering where that came from. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
at least
every
it's not
guy
a guppy.
Has a nickname.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so every guy has a nickname. So I didn't like put anybody's personal business out there.
Sure.
And so I started going on these dates, and I had some crazy ones. I had some wonderful ones. I had some a little scary ones. I mean, it was a whole. But then a lot of the book is also all of these ideas that I never thought of because, like I said, I was a little green, I was a little naive. So I'm meeting all these men with all these different ideas of what women should be, what relationships should be, how men should act. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I'm a journaler, so I'm taking notes on all this stuff when I get home from the date. And I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. And then at the same time, I'm in Facebook groups, singles groups, and I'm hearing there's all of this talk about who should pay 50% and, do women have to be submissive and do men, the alpha men, the beta men, there's all this talk. So all of that's in the book, like all of this talk that's swirling around dating and, all of that is in the book. And I just explore all of these different ideas. And you were talking about therapy. Dating was very therapeutic for me, as well as the podcast, because I got to see so many different ideas of relationships, of women, of marriage, of all this. I feel like I was very sheltered.
Okay.
And I grew up, kind of in Christianity, and I'm meeting Muslims and I'm meeting atheists and agnostics and I'm meeting people who are spiritual and, have all kind of different, and I'm meeting all these different kind of people that I would have not exposed myself to had I stayed where my parents told me to stay and my grandparents and my community. But they're just making me think about this and that and the other. And I'm like, going different places, trying new foods, trying, all this. So it's this whole explosion. It's kind of like a renaissance.
Yeah.
An explosion of thought and consideration and just, I got to the point where I said, I'm going to question everything.
Love it.
And then whatever sticks for me and feels right for me, I'm going to bring that in and say, okay, this is now the new me. So I literally created like a new me over the 7 years of looking at all of these different ideas. I'm reading books, I'm going places. And so it's kind of like a personal journey to self-fulfillment in the book. Sure. And dating was a big part of that because through dating, I was able to just be exposed to so many people and so many thoughts and so many different perspectives, and that I wouldn't. Online is a whole new world because, if you just were to date at your job, in your neighborhood, at the grocery store, at the gym, all of those are probably in a 5-mile radius, right?
Yeah.
But through the dating apps, I was able to date people that were coming into town from, Europe and Africa, people who were just going to be here for a little while. I was able to meet all kinds of people. And it was just very, I guess it was mind blowing in a sense. It's like, whoo,
Yeah.
And just the things that you hear, things I heard, it was like, oh, wow,
And you're kind of referring, I assume it's kind of what you were talking about, just the different perspectives on these dates and how they perceive I don't want to say a woman's role because I don't want to sound like that, but how they think interaction should be. Is that a good way?
Well, it was, women, family, relationships, men, but also spiritual. I mean, when you're on a first date or second or third date, you're talking about economy, politics. Sometimes you're talking about, I met some environmentalists who were very, they were gung ho. I met some people who were very, one of the guys that I met, I called him the Lorax because he spent the whole date, kind of talking about the tree. I met a guy called NASCAR and he was so gung ho. I mean, I never met a Black person that was so gung ho about NASCAR. So, it's like I met these people and they were so into whatever it was. I met a guy it was very hard for him to stay engaged in the date because he was checking the gaming stats because he had left an online game to come to the date and he wanted to see who was ranking while he was at the date with me. Oh my
goodness.
So it's like, I would have never known that these people existed that were so into whatever it was. And just, it was like, wow. There's so many different ways to be a human being, and there's so many different ways to find fulfillment and joy. And, I met activists, I met all kind of different people. So it wasn't just about dating, because dating is just a part of the world, but it was also just different thoughts about a lot of different things. What brings you fulfillment? That's something, what makes you happy? What are your goals? You know,
Right.
what's the importance of money? What's the importance of family? You know, so as you're talking to people, it's like, okay, they have their priorities this way. I've had my priorities this way. Which one seems to be working better? You know?
Right. Right.
You know, so it was just very eye-opening. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. I changed a lot through dating, being a part of that, you know.
So one thing I like to say is on dates, it's expectations or experiences over expectations is always, I think, an easier way to go, because if you go in with expectations, a lot of people, disappointment is usually what's going to happen. If you go in like, hey, here's this experience, let's just see what happens. And that sounds like much more of what the approach that you had.
I did. I mean, like I said, when I started out, I was my self-esteem grew a lot through dating, because when being married, I can only speak for myself, I felt very ignored.
Sure.
And invisible. Sure. And now I'm getting all this attention, and it's like, ooh, okay, wow, didn't expect that. So I really went into it with, in a sense, no expectations. I wanted to have experiences. I wanted to meet people that I clicked with or connected with. In the beginning, I was looking for one person. It's like, I want one person that I really click with, that I could have this, in a sense, romantic fling with, you know, even if it doesn't, because I wasn't looking for marriage. I was just getting out of a marriage. I just really wanted like I guess you could say a sustain. I wasn't looking for a boyfriend. I was really looking for a long-term lover. That's what I was looking for when I first came out.
Sure.
And I wanted somebody I really felt comfortable with. And that's really what I was looking for. And I wasn't really expecting to, I guess you could say, be impacted as much by the people that I met. I was kind of expecting, like, I'm going shopping, and when I see what I want, I'm going to buy it. You know what I mean?
I'm going to add the cart. You know? I get it.
And so it was like, I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, let me consider this for a little while. Wow, that really is neat. Man, you're really interesting. I really expected it to be much more of a very different experience. So I wasn't expecting to be, like I said, so impacted. So then when I realized I was being really impacted and I was being given different ideas and considerations, and I was like, this is something very different than I thought. So let me be open to this experience now, because I'm actually learning from people. I'm actually growing. These dates it isn't just, okay, this didn't go so well, so who's next? Part of it was that, but part of it was, that didn't go so well, but man, he was interesting.
Fair enough.
Wow. He's not for me.
Yeah.
We would not click, but golly, he was amazingly interesting.
Sure. Sure.
And just to see, like I said, having had so little experience with dating and relationships, it was just really fascinating to me to meet a lot of different people with a lot of different expectations and a lot of different, how can I put it? Some people are really out there.
Yeah.
Really out there.
Yeah. And like, there's times when you're sitting there going, I never thought about it from that perspective. That's very interesting. I'll probably never think about it from that perspective again, but it's good to know that perspective is out there.
Right.
Coming from what you did. So when you we're getting out of the marriage, I think it's 100% as common as can be, where self-confidence is at an all-time low because of, unwanted. How long, I guess 2 questions. How long did it take you to start getting that confidence back? And 2, did you feel like, all right, your mindset totally had to shift from what makes us happy to, hey, I got to find out what makes me happy, and kind of go from there? That seems like a big hurdle for a lot of people too.
Yeah, that was this is going to sound really bad, but I think I had given up on being happy way into the marriage. Like by the time I got divorced, it was just like, I don't want to be miserable anymore. It was like,
doesn't sound
happiness
bad at all.
Wasn't even on the radar yet.
Sure.
Sure. So the first thing I knew, I was under a misconception. When I first got divorced, I actually really felt like I didn't need to heal. Because I felt, people were like, you should be grieving the relationship and you should give yourself time to heal and all that. I felt like I had been grieving for like the last 2 years of the marriage. I felt like I had already been doing, like, in a sense, the therapy and all that, because I was in therapy. I felt like I was already trying to get on the other side of it before I even got divorced, because I had given up on the relationship. I was just there really for my kids. You know what I'm saying? And I had tried everything I knew with him. I had tried everything that I could think of with him. So I was like, I've given up on that. Now let me heal myself. And I'm going to be here and do what I fulfill a role. I'm going to fulfill the role of wife, right? I've got to do, I got to cook, I got to clean, I got to listen to him, I got to be whatever, I'm going to do this role. Sure. Here's my job description. Let me check off the boxes. I'm doing that. But emotionally, I'm completely checked out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in therapy trying to heal my emotions and all this stuff. So when I got divorced, physically, finally signed the paperwork, I'm thinking I don't need to heal. Like, I'm thinking I'm good. I know that my confidence is shattered. I need to build that up. So I was aware of that. So it took a long time. It took much longer than I thought, because I thought that I was further along, way further along than I was. And then I began to realize, there's a lot of damage that was done. There's a lot of damage that was done. I stayed a long time in an unfulfilling situation. And that was damaging. And it took a long time to realize how damaging that was. Really? So in some ways, that was 2014. It's 2023 now. In some ways, I would say that there are still a few things that I'm healing now. Okay. Because I'm at a point where I'm probably in the most serious relationship that I've been in since my divorce. Nice. And every now and then, the guy I'm with, he'll say or do something, and it'll poke a trigger. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know I had triggers, because I'm thinking I'm 8 years out of this thing. I'm 9 years out of this thing. I'm good. But every now and then it's like, ooh, that hurt. Oh my God, I wasn't prepared. Let me breathe. Ooh. So
that you recognize that, though.
Yeah. And we've had to talk about that, because he's like, okay, I'm not that guy. I shouldn't have done that. But your reaction was, whoa, and I'm a pretty calm person. So when I react and I'm like really over the top, I realize it's not just this situation, because I wouldn't even react like that, because I'm not that person. So for me, I would say I'm still healing now, which is crazy to say. Because had I, like I said, I thought I was healed when I got divorced, but I was wrong.
Some parts, right? And then, like you said, when you react the way you did, then that's when you're like, oh, this is uncovering a whole bunch of different emotions that I didn't realize I even still had inside of me. And that's the over the top, as opposed to your normal, all right, I'm calm, we'll talk it out, be good. Yeah. That's all right. That part's healed, but here's the other parts that aren't.
Right.
That's the discovery.
Exactly.
This path, though, that you've gone down, or that you've been on, I guess, how often have you looked back and just kind of said, wow, without it, I wouldn't have the book, I wouldn't have the podcast. I mean, and how, like, self-discovery and cool is that stuff?
I'm very grateful. The guy that I'm with, he was actually in the 30s. Like, I met him like around date 34, 35, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And I ended up with 101 dates in the book, right? So I ended up going out on all the dates after I met him. But I wasn't actually ready for him back there, years ago. Sure. So the journey that I went on was a journey of fulfillment. It was a journey of permission, really giving myself. I thought I gave myself permission when I walked out the courthouse to be a different person, but I had to actually give myself more permission and more permission and more permission, and shed a lot of limiting beliefs, I guess you could say. And the longer that I was in this kind of dating process, the more that I shed a lot of those limiting beliefs. It was like, I remember I had a guy say, you got to take a man as he comes. And I was like, no, I do not have to do that. I don't have to do that. I can stay single. Yep. 100%. I have the right to stay single, so, and the person that first got divorced would have been like, yeah, you're right. If you're coming to me and you want me, I guess I should give you a shot. You know what I mean? But I became that person who was like, no, I don't have to give you a shot. Mm-mm. Right. Yeah. I have these standards. I have these standards for a reason. You may not understand them. You may not agree with them, but you don't have to. I don't need your permission to have my standards.
Right. Right.
I have a right to choose for myself what is right for me, even if you think I'm being picky, even if you think that I'm 40 something and I should be glad anybody wants me. Keep those thoughts.
Yeah.
Keep those thoughts. I got 2 kids, I'm plus size, and I should be grateful. Oh my, I should be so grateful. No, I don't feel that way.
No
I'm
way.
perfectly fine single. So it took a long time to get to that point because so much in our society, I don't know how it gives messages to men, but so much in our society kind of tries to make women feel like you're going to die alone with a lot of cats.
A lot of cats. Always the cats. There's always cats.
So you need to be happy. Some man wants you and you shouldn't feel like you're settling because, and there's just so much pressure to be so happy and grateful that anybody's looking at you. But then I think a lot of women are saying, no, I don't have to be grateful. No. The dude doesn't even wash his fingernails. No, I want him touching me. You know what I'm saying? It's a date and he didn't even bother to wash his hands.
That's so bad.
And literally I've had guys come to dates and they look like they just left the gym and they smell like they just left the gym and the dumpster, but they still feel like, hey, I'm here and you should be so happy that I'm interested. And, even though I didn't even take a shower or anything, So
there's a saying I like, and I know we kind of exchanged a couple of them earlier, but everything that settles is at the bottom. I mean, that's so I think that's just like exactly once you settle, there's no reason to. I mean, you might as well have those standards because this is your life. You get one go around, create your happiness the way you're supposed to.
Right.
That's exactly what you're doing. So I have to ask, is there like anything that's like out of all the 101 days? Give me one that sticks out the most.
Oh gosh. That's very difficult.
Good, bad, or indifferent. Obviously, everyone wants to jaw drop on the bad ones, but whatever sticks out the most to you, just that's what I'd love for you to share. If you
okay, so I'll do this. All right. Now, before I do this, I will say I didn't say any of this on the date. Okay.
All
right. Plenty of fish. Looked at his profile. He was sexy and fine. Got excited to meet him over a glass of wine. Walked into the place. Stepped right through the door. A black Danny DeVito was smiling. So sure, my date was behind him. I looked to the side. He tapped me on my shoulder, said, "I'm your date for tonight." I stifled a cringe, studied his face for a clue. Where was the man from the pictures I knew? Much shorter than me, balding, ashy brown skin. He had the nerve to ask what I thought of him. I tried to be polite, avoid answering, but he pressed forward so clueless and asked yet again, "Sir, the problem is this, to be frank and true. You said you were 6'1". It looks more like 5'2". You boasted of fitness, but look stout and round. In fact, not a single detail from your pictures I found. I don't want to say more. I don't mean to be rude, but I've never seen nose hairs so boldly protrude. Your hair is all gray, not black. There are teeth that you lack. And surprisingly, there's hair all over the top of your back. Your beard is unkempt and looks moldy and old, and you smell slightly like Munster cheese or black mold. I came out for some wine, but have no appetite. I think I'll bid you adieu for the night. But before I depart, I must ask, be open. Can I have the name and number of your friend? Because it's obvious you borrowed a picture from somebody you know. But I understand if you'd rather just go. A blind date does not mean that I cannot see. And it's pretty obvious you catfished me. Wasted my time, but not all is amiss. You inspired a poem, Mr. Plenty of Fish.
I love that. Is that how a lot of the book is written too, with your poems in there for
yeah,
100? Is it all 101 or is it just someone of the 101?
So the book is written as a story, but in each chapter, there's 26 chapters. So it's basically the A to Z of those 7 years of my life.
Okay.
Every chapter ends with a lesson that I learned from that period of time. There's a little light bulb moment at the very end. And then there's like 2 to 3 poems embedded in each chapter.
Okay.
So that poem is probably in chapter like 18 or 19. It's somewhere near the end. It's not, so yeah. So the rest of the book is written like a normal story.
Okay.
But then there's the poems that are embedded in.
I love
and
that.
So
that was so good. I know, like, we won't do video, but if people could see me, like, I was just over here buckled over laughing. That was so good. That was great. How long did that take to just create out of your mind?
Oh, that was, I walked out of the date at Chili's because we didn't get beyond the vestibule of Chili's. I was like, you didn't tell me the truth. I don't feel comfortable sitting here having a date with you. And I walked out to the car. I called my co-host because we do shows together and she's a comic. And I said, girl, I just got catfished. She said, was he fine online? I said, yes. She said, looked at his picture. He was sexy and fine. I said, I got to get off the phone. So I sat right there in the car and I typed up that poem. So it was done in like 5 minutes.
Nice.
And then I had to memorize it. And I actually performed it like within a few days. So because I had to just get it off my chest. And once I got it off my chest, I actually didn't ever go back to that app, which was, Plenty of Fish.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. But once I got it off my chest, I was actually a lot better because I was really actually looking forward to that date.
Sure.
I really was really into, I really liked our conversations that we had on the phone. Yeah. So that's was,
awesome. Yeah. Goodness. That is great. So your journey now, you're in the most, I think you said the most serious of the relationships that you had. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, your smile's amazing. You seem like, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. It seems like you've come a long way.
I have come a long way. I've learned a lot. One of the things that I learned on this journey, I learned about attachment theory, which is a pretty powerful thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but if any of your guests haven't looked it up, to look up, like, there's free quizzes on attachment theory. So I've actually learned even more specifically through looking at different videos what my needs are, what good boundaries for me would be, because I didn't grow up having a lot of discussions about these kind of things. And so it's crazy to be 52. And really this year, I just learned about attachment theory. Okay. And that's actually helped in my current, relationship a lot because we have a vocabulary now to talk about certain things.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I've come a long way. I've grown a lot. I've changed a lot. I've become a whole different person, to be honest, than the person I was when I was married.
What's your biggest aha about yourself? I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing, if you don't, that's okay too, that you've learned from divorce to now.
I guess my biggest aha would be, just to give yourself full permission, because I didn't really realize how much I was, in a sense, holding myself back. I had a lot of fear of, if I am my greatest, biggest, wildest, most intense self, who's going to be able to, in a sense, handle that person. Right. But then I wasn't really thinking about how I would feel if I wasn't my greatest, biggest, most intense self, and what a loss that would be. I was so afraid, in the sense of being alone, or being rejected. So to be a person who now has a podcast, who now performs, who has written, 4 books, 3 of them bestsellers, who's now a consultant. I didn't do any of this married at all. None of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this journey has led to me. I have a congressional award for activism now. It's led to this life that I cannot even imagine, where, I wouldn't even know how to describe my life. My life was so small. Now, being a wife and mother is a beautiful thing, and I'm not trying to put it down.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is, for me, the potential that I had, that I didn't even know I had, that all I had to do was take the first step, and then the next step after that, and the next step after that. And now I'm here.
Yeah.
And I was planning on retiring at 65. I'm 52. I'm retired, and I'm doing what I want to do.
Sure.
98% of the time. I still tutor, but 98% of the time I'm doing exactly what I want to do with my life. Had I not given myself permission, I would still be working on somebody's 9 to 5. Right now, at this moment, I would be at somebody's 9 to 5 at a job I really had outgrown and really didn't like the way it was being done right now. Right. So the very fact that I'm having this conversation with you and we're able to be in the space right at this moment is a testament to the fact that this whole dating journey made me open up and say, go for it.
Good for you.
In every way that's possible. Good and it cut 13 years off of me slaving for somebody else.
Sure.
Because now I can make money in so many other ways.
You have found more than your voice.
Yes, that's
for
true.
Sure. That's pretty awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't touched on? Because like you have got so much quality, I don't know, just life to share. So I don't want to leave anything out.
Well, I mean, if anybody wants to check out my podcast, it's called Zenergy, ZENNURGY. If they want to check out my books, if they type in Zenashe, ZENASE on Google, it'll probably pop up a whole bunch of stuff. So Zenashe's books on Amazon. I've got 4 books on Amazon. I have a guided journal. I have a planner. I have a children's book, and I have the poetry prose memoir that I mentioned. And I do workshops and live shows every month. So I've got a live show coming up. You know, like I said, I'm doing 2 shows this weekend. So I don't know when this is going to air, but if they follow me on Instagram, Zenashe Poetry, or Facebook or Twitter or wherever, they'll see what I have coming up, because I'm everywhere. I'm all over the place. So I always have things coming up. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm already gonna, as soon as we're done with this, I'm on Amazon and a book will be ordered. That's for sure. The book will be ordered. No problem at all. It's absolutely my pleasure. Like, you are just, I don't know, you're just beacon, just a whole bunch of light going on right there. I am glad the path you went down is the path you did, because I think you've made a lot of other people happier, including yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you for being along for the ride on the Swipe Wrong podcast, where we take everyday people like you and me telling their everyday stories of their swipe right life. Show is produced by Jay Pelham. He is the host of Pelham Place. If you want to reach out to the show and tell us your story, we'd love to hear it. Give us a call. Google Voice us at 317-426-6616. Leave your information and we'll get back to you, or just your story. You can also email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. We are on Insta, Facebook, TikTok. We're out there. I am Chaos, the host of Chaotic Commentary. You can find me pretty much anywhere that you see me. And next week, the saga continues.
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong.